Hello everybody, I hope you're having a good day. Today I'm going to be making a video discussing with you some of the most useless but interesting at the same time SCPs. So these are the type of SCPs, usually they're Keter, usually they're bad SCPs, I'll tell you that. That they're very interesting to hear about, and they have many anomalous properties, but they don't really do anything for us particularly. I do have two honorable mentions in here that I wanted to put on here, so it's technically a top 12 list. I'm going to put those right before number 1. I guess I don't really have them in an order. I just did them in the order that I found them in. Because I don't think any of them's more or less interesting than the other one for the most part. But basically, I'll just show you this first one, and then that'll be how the rest of the video is going to go from here with the rest of them. And I'll have those two honorable mentions that could be useful, ideas that I thought of that I don't know if they would work for sure. So to start off, we have an SCP called the Biological Motherboard. It's SCP-003, and I'll refer to them by their name, and I'm not going to read the whole thing probably. I'll read the most interesting parts and aspects of it, the most important things. So we'll start with we'll start with the object class. This is the first one, and it's Euclid. By the way, if you didn't know the differences between object classes, it goes safe, which are easily containable or they don't need to be contained and they're not a problem. Then there's Euclid, which we don't know much about them, I believe is how that one is. We don't we kind of know enough to contain them, but it might not be enough and something could still happen. And Keter is dangerous SCPs that we are still working to contain or can't contain. And there are other classes that I probably won't get into talking about, a few rare ones, I think it's Thamriel or something like that, which is the class for SCPs technically that can't be contained because they contain... No, I think it's just they can't be contained. Like SCP-001. Or, I don't know if that's 001 or 0. I can't remember. The one that's... no one really knows exactly what it is. Well, it's thought that we can't contain it, so they call it that. But this is Euclid, which means we don't know everything about it yet. But it does have containment procedures, which I'll tell you about now. The biological motherboard is to be maintained at a constant temperature of no less than 35 degrees Celsius, which is, I think, around 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and ideally kept above 100 degrees Celsius. I think it's 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I think you multiply it by about 3 when you go up to Fahrenheit. Correct me if I'm wrong. No living multicellular organisms or category 4 or higher complexity may be allowed to come into contact with SCP-3. So no living beings can touch it, and nothing with an intelligence category level of 4 or higher, which would be people and maybe the highest species of animals, I think is what that's referring to. Let's see. In event of total power failure, if the biological motherboard begins to increase its mass, assigned personnel must engage in skin contact. Ideally, personnel may use their body heat to return SCP, or biological motherboard, to above the critical temperature. However, skin contact must be maintained even in event of SCP... I might just say SCP-3 some of these times. I keep forgetting. Reaching activation temperature, lasting at minimum until biological motherboard advances fully to its second growth stage. So basically, when this thing comes into contact with people and things like that, it absorbs them into it and grows into a biological computer. And they use the heat to keep to keep it from growing. That stops it from growing. Now let's check out the description. SCP-3 consists of two related components of separate origin, referred to as SCP-3-1 and SCP-3-2. I will probably refer to those like that, because that's like SCP-1 is the actual thing, and then SCP-3-2 is something that came from it, or part of it. So, the biological motherboard appears to be composed of chitin, which is a material bugs use for shells and things, I believe. You'd know that if you played Ark Survival. Hair and nails of unknown biology, arranged in a configuration similar to that of a computer motherboard. So it's basically just a mass of hair, bug shell, and nails, fingernails, all together. That's all it is. Formed to look like a computer. It's considered sentient, but not actively dangerous except under certain conditions. Now, right here, let's see, it talks about how it was found on a stone tablet, which is SCP-32. That is the stone tablet. The runes on SCP-32 are not known of any, or are not part of any known language, and emit pale flickering light patterns. So, I'll just divulge the basic information of it. Basically, SCP-32 is part of what keeps it under control, and you have to give it a constant supply of energy so that it stays on, and I think it's what heats it. So it's basically an SCP that if it's not heated, it starts to grow and contaminate and take over living organisms and morph them, at least parts of them, into it. Now you can see why I put this on this list, because it's very interesting. It's very cool to think about. But it's not really like mind-breaking, you know? And there's nothing people could really do with it, except maybe in terms of biological warfare or something like that. But still, at that point, it would become uncontrollable, so I don't think that would happen. Now this one is interesting, and it's long, so I'm just going to summarize it. Basically, SCP-004 is called the 12 Rusty Keys and the Door. 004 is the door, and 0041 through 00412 are the keys. All the keys can only unlock this one door. That's part of why it's on the useless list. But it's very interesting, because there's several different anomalous properties that happen when you use the different keys to unlock the door and enter it. Like, some of them will just teleport you and dismember you, and you'll be dead. But there is one special version of it that teleports you to a giant, like, separate planet or area that was at some point used by the SCP for storage. But the thing is, everywhere else is dangerous and terrible. So it's not very useful in and of itself, but it's very interesting to think, because the original story is that a couple of kids stumbled upon the door in the woods, because it's just on a mound in the woods somewhere, and they tried to open it with some of the keys that they found, and various effects happened to them, and then the SCP Foundation was alerted. Can you imagine finding something like that in the woods? Oh boy, I wouldn't open it. Okay, maybe I would. It depends. Let's see what happens after the first guy goes in. That's what I'm gonna say. Hey, Jim, you should try this out. Okay, this next one, it's pretty interesting. There's not a lot to explain about it, so we'll just go through it real quickly here. It's SCP-005, the skeleton key. It poses no immediate risk. It's a safe object, by the way. I forgot to talk about the last few, but I believe those ones were Euclid. It poses no immediate risk in any direct sense. Even so, its unique functions require special measures to be taken to restrict access and manipulation of the object. There has to be at least one level 4 personnel to approve the removal of the object before it's taken out of its containment. I'll tell you the description. In appearance, SCP-5 resembles an ornate key, displaying the characteristics of a typical mass-produced key used in the 1920s. The key was discovered when a civilian used it to infiltrate a high-security facility. SCP-005 seems to have the unique ability to open any and all forms of lock, be they mechanical or digital, with relative ease. The origin of this ability has not yet to be determined. SCP-005 may be used as a replacement for lost security passes, but only under the surveillance of at least one Level 4 personnel, may not be used for vending machine repairs, opening lockers, or for any personal spare home key. Removal of the object from the compound will result in immediate termination. Now you might be wondering why I put this on the useless tier list. Well, we're not going to get much use out of a key that was used once by one person and is now held in containment with only the ability of level 4 access to remove it, and only to be used in certain circumstances as a key card for those personnel. It's a very, single-use item, but it's also very useful because imagine if someone got their hands on it, what they could do with it. Like that one person how they found it, he infiltrated the base. That's crazy because it's just an old 1920s rusty key, and he used it to go through key card clearances, probably vault door, probably a ton of stuff. That's the crazy thing about it, is you can open anything with it. That's why it's interesting, but it's useless because it's locked up in the facility, and you're not going to get much use out of something locked up in the SCP facility. Oh, and I'm sorry I haven't yet, but let me show you a couple of the pictures on here if I can. Some of them are interesting. Some of them, I'm not going to show you the one for the rusty key, not the rusty key, for the 12 rusty keys in the door, because it's literally just a picture of I don't know how well you can see that. I hope that's good. I can't make it any bigger. I don't think it'll let me zoom. But yeah, the keys in the door just shows a door. The skeleton keys just shows a skeleton key from the 1920s. You can assume what one of those looks like, right? One of those keys from those old houses with the weird rounded part. It's like, ooh, I'm going to go unlock me cellar. You know what I'm saying? So, that one, it's pretty self-explanatory. So, next off, this one doesn't have a picture, so sadly there's nothing to show you, but I can basically describe it to you exactly what it would look like. Let me take a hit of this real quick. Also, let me explain, because I've had people ask. I don't smoke all the time. The reason I usually am doing it when I make videos, cigarettes and whatever, is because it's the time that I like to do it. It's my free time, kinda, and it's just a good time for me to sit back and relax and record something for you guys. So, I don't really need to read about this one. I'll tell you, SCP-007 is Euclid. It's called the Abdominal Planet. Sorry. And basically, it's this man who reported to the SCP facility with a large hole in his abdomen, and there's a small-scale replica of Earth inside of it. He doesn't need to eat or drink water, but he does do those things sometimes, and I believe it's said that whatever happens to the planet in his stomach will happen to the real-world planet. Which, yeah, there could be a little bit of use for that, I guess, if you wanted to destroy the world. But for me, I just see it as something very interesting and something to be studied. And they did. They kept him in containment and studied him, and He didn't mind being in containment for the most part. They wouldn't let him have a phone because he couldn't have contact with the outside world. He had a dangerous anomaly going on inside of him. But besides that, all was basically well with him. It wasn't really dangerous per se because of his containment, but it's very interesting. I just don't see very many uses that could come out of it. There's no picture for that one, so we're probably just going to move on to the next one. I think that's everything really to explain about it. That one's a pretty obvious one, you know what I mean? So next, we have the collars of control. This is another pretty self-explanatory one. It sounds like it would be useful at first, but it's kind of not. Now, Object 10, SCP-10, is Object Class Safe. And well, basically, it's these collars, and it's kind of hard because I read it a few times, the more difficult parts, and from what I understand, they're shock collars, and that's kind of all they are. Let me see here. There is a note from somebody. Yeah, here we go. SCP-10 has been demonstrated. This is Addendum 10.3. SCP-10 has been demonstrated to work more effectively in creating unskilled labor than for any other task. The logo is apt. Basically, they're kept in some locked boxes on the site, and it's 6 iron collars with metal tags and 1 remote control that controls the collars, and I think it controls them through shock. Or it might be a mind control device, but from what I read, I think it's a shocking device. And that's all it really is you can make people work for you. Must have been some Soviet Russia stuff, you know? Actually, it says it on there that it was found in America, but the company on it was supposedly Russian but never heard of. So I guess we don't really know, and we never will. But yeah, those are pretty useless. You won't get much use out of them, but it's very interesting to think that they just discovered 6 random collars, control collars, in America that were originally from Russia, but no one knows where from Russia they came from. Oh, that's weird. Hold on, the page had an error. I was getting ready to tell you about the next one, but it's being weird. Well, whatever. I remember it for the most part. This is SCP-11, the Sentient Civil War statue. So basically, oh, here it is. Here, I can show you the picture for this one. Ta-da! Very cool. I hope you can see that, alright? Is my brightness all the way up? That might help. Almost. I'll show you one more time. Hopefully good enough brightness. Here we go. So, okay, well, it's a safe object. It's basically a statue that had special containment at some point, but it does not anymore, which it's a crazy story that I'll get into. They kind of used to have a perimeter of people around it to clean it and kind of talk to it, because the way it happened is the statue came to life in a residential town after it was built there out of, I believe, marble or bronze. Let me find it. Description: Sentient Civil War Memorial is a Civil War memorial statue located in Woodstock, Vermont. The statue is the image of a young male soldier holding a musket at his side and is carved out of granite quarried within the area. So it's made out of rock from the local area. So basically, one day it just came to life. The first thing that ever happened was it fired its musket. into the air. And after that, it started killing birds with its musket because it didn't like them defecating on it. So it starts killing birds with this musket, and eventually it even rarely kills people with it, if people do anything bad to it or whatever. But it's slowly gaining more and more sentience. It gains the ability to move, the ability to talk to people, and the ability to walk even. The first thing it ever says to somebody, I believe, is it shoots a bird out of the sky, and one of the janitors working there cleaning it says, "Nice shot." And he says, "Thank you." Which is pretty funny. So, towards the end, okay, here, let me read this. This is a timeline. Woodstock resident reports the statue's eyes moving. First sign of activity. Statue shoots musket for the first time. Statue begins shooting birds from the sky. Registration as SCP-11, containment procedure begins. SCP-011 observed moving casually and looking around. After caretaker blank blank jokingly shouts "good shot" to SCP-11, the janitor I was talking about, the SCP replies "thank you" in a reportedly very human voice. First speech from the statue. That was in 2000, and it started in 1995. And this was in 2001, later in 2001, in November. Not October, actually. This was October. Hey, 2 days before now. Has conversation with caretaker. 2001, shooting of birds stops. It just says 2001. It doesn't say when in 2001. Early in 2001, at the imploring of blank, SCP steps down from its pedestal. 2003 to 2004, SCP-11 reaches a human level of self-awareness. Later in 2004, containment procedures dropped, custody of SCP-11 transferred to blank. In 2005, blank reports, the same blank, I believe, reports that SCP-11 is romantically attracted to her. 2006, most recent psych tests report an IQ of 133. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, isn't it? So, there's no real use for us, obviously, for just a statue that gains sentience. Maybe it'll get smarter and smarter eventually and just dwarf us as the smartest thing in the world. I don't know. But it's very interesting to hear about, especially with the containment procedures, and then they were dropped, and all this other stuff about it. It makes it a very unique SCP. So, next, we have SCP-13, or Blue Lady Cigarettes. And here's the picture. Looks like something right out of fucking Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. They're safe. Now, basically, I'll just tell you about this one. They're really just kept in a secure storage vault at Site 66. And basically, SCP-013 is the collective designation of 242 cigarettes which display similar anomalies. The most common external detail between instances is the presence of the words Blue Lady handwritten on each cigarette in blue ink. Subjects who consume the contents of SCP-13 through inhalation will begin to perceive themselves as a specific unidentified woman. Subjects have described the woman to be aged between 25 and 35 years old, standing approximately 1.6 meters tall, with an estimated weight of between 50 and 55 kilograms. Additional recurring details include cropped, dark hair, blue eyes, and bright blue lipstick. Immediately after consuming an instance of SCP-13, subjects will gradually begin to perceive reflections of themselves as having the features of the woman, and will gradually perceive their bodies changing to reflect her appearance over the course of the following weeks. All changes are entirely mental. The subject's body does not change outwardly, only their perception of themselves. These alterations are permanent and cannot be reversed. And basically, it was discovered after somebody committed suicide in their apartment and talked about seeing the Blue Lady everywhere they went, blah, blah, blah. She wouldn't leave their memories, so they committed suicide. I see her everywhere, that sad blue lady. I feel like I should know her, but I can't remember. I love her, but I don't know why. She's so beautiful and sweet and clear, but I don't know anymore. Her favorite flavor. Where did you go? I miss you. I think that's about him smoking the cigarettes, and then maybe he turned into her, and I don't know, they found him in a box, so maybe he didn't have a mirror or whatever. Because, I mean, he wouldn't be able to really look at himself that way. I don't know. Now, the next one is very interesting. And I'm not going to lie, this story almost sounds real. This is a safe SCP, SCP-14, the Concrete Man. Let me tell you his procedures, because they're not that long. Is to be kept in sight blank in a chair with arms preferably facing a window. Music should be supplied on a regular basis, preferably constantly. This music should not include pieces originating after 1937. The security camera should be present in SCP-14's room. Alright, we'll get into the description real quick. Just a second. Now, I know this is going to be a longer video, but I really hope that you guys enjoy the longer theme format. I'm definitely enjoying making this video. Alright, here we go. SCP-14 is a Caucasian male appearing to be approximately 30 years of age with black hair, brown eyes, and a somewhat round face. Records indicate his name to be Robert Shetford, confined in 1915 to the Norwich Asylum in Connecticut for delusional insanity, claiming that he had been cursed to live forever and was slowly turning into concrete in consequence. The asylum closed in 1937 and the patients were transferred to various other facilities. SCP-014 came to Foundation attention in 19-blank from rumors of a patient who seemed to be entirely immobile and showed no signs of aging. Further investigation determined that acquisition was warranted. SCP-14 is, to all outward appearances, a normal man, but he does not appear to age and shows no signs of possessing metabolism. He does not eat, drink, perspire, or in any other way demonstrate life functions. He breathes only to speak, and apart from his eyes and vocal apparatus, is to all appearances utterly immobile. He has never shown any evidence of pressure ulcers despite his position not having varied for several decades. Neither do his muscles appear atrophied. He can converse normally but shows little knowledge of interest in events since his confinement. Addendum. Nate. Frankly, were I to interview this man without knowing his history, I think he was a perfectly sane and well-adjusted individual who happened to be paraplegic. As it is, I have to conclude that he's the ultimate proof of the idea that the mind rules the body. He thinks he's concrete and will live forever, and so he's as close to both as he can be, somehow. So yeah, pretty useless. It's just a man who can't move, thinks he's made of concrete, but he's really not, and he lives forever. But it's very interesting to think about, because he thought he got cursed, and the whole idea is that mind over body, and he truly believed it, so it's happening to the best of what could happen. I mean, that is just crazy to think about. Next, we have Pipe Nightmare. This one is insane. It's Euclid, surprisingly. I would call it Keter. SCP-015. It's on my Keter list this Halloween. I'll show you the picture. It's really just a bunch of scary old pipes. Ooga booga. I was going to use that one as my thumbnail, but I didn't. I ended up using a different one. So yeah, here we go. It's Euclid. I'll explain the containment procedures. They're important. So, Pipe Nightmare is impossible to move and is contained on site, a gap of at least 6 feet, so, tall as the average male, I'm playing, needs to be maintained around the entire structure containing SCP-15 at all times, so nothing in between. and no structures of any kind are to make contact with Pipe Nightmare's current containment structure. No touching it, or where it resides. Exploration is permissible, but only in terms of teams of 3 with full safety lines and GPS tracking. Any protrusions from SCP-15 must be capped and sealed immediately with the new site recorded and logged. No aggressive action is to be made within SCP-15. No hand or power tools are allowed anywhere inside SCP-15. No repair maintenance are to be made anywhere on SCP-15. So yeah, it doesn't like to be touched, messed with, repaired. Doesn't like anything to be near it. Description. SCP-15 is a mass of pipes, vents, boilers, and other various plumbing apparatuses, completely filling a warehouse in blank. The pipes appear to grow when not under observation. Yeah, so when you're not directly looking at them, they grow. And they don't know how. Attempting to connect to nearby structures via sewer systems and underground plumbing. SCP-015 contains, at current estimate, over 190 kilometers, 120 miles, of pipes, ranging in diameter from 2.5 centimeters to over a meter. So that can be pretty big. Like 2.5 centimeters is about, like, maybe that. And then a meter is, decently sized. Some pipes appear new, while others are rusted and leaking. Pipes have been reported as being made of bone, wood, steel, pressed ash, human flesh, glass, and granite. No pipes composed of lead, PVC, glass, copper, or any other traditional material have been found. Can you imagine that? You find a mass of pipes. Some of them are made out of bone. That's kind of crazy. They'd probably look like PVC pipes. Wood? How would a wooden pipe work? I mean, am I right? It would leak, right? Steel, I don't know why that doesn't make sense exactly. I mean, I know they don't really, make pipes out of steel, but I feel like you could. Pressed ash. Wouldn't that just fall apart? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's completely pressed. Human flesh. That would just be disgusting. Glass would be kind of cool, though. Okay, this is the interesting and scary part, but it's not useful for any reason, because all it does is grow, and we just need to keep it in that area and hope it doesn't keep growing. There's no use that comes out of it. So SCP-015 reacts to tools and aggression. And this is interesting. Any personnel acting violently, carrying tools, or attempting to damage or repair SCP-015 in any way will trigger a reaction. Any pipes near the subject will burst, spraying on the subject for several seconds before the flow suddenly stops. Pipes have been reported containing oil, which, yeah, some pipes, mercury, liquid mercury, deadly on contact with cuts and things like that. Not good to be exposed to. Rats. Rat pipes. Imagine a human flesh rat pipe. I mean, sign me up. Not really. Don't do that. A species of insect not yet identified. Ground glass. Seawater. Entrails. Yeah. Human flesh pipe shooting out entrails. And even molten iron, I think it said. Yeah, molten iron. Pipes will continue to burst around the subject until death or retreat. So yeah, the pipe nightmare, that is a pretty crazy one. Okay, now we have our honorable mention number 1, which is actually it might not be the thumbnail of the video, because I already made it the thumbnail for the short. And you know me, I like to switch it up a little. I might make the pipes So this one's Keter. And let me just tell you about this one. Basically, it has to be contained in an acrylic glass room that is on all sides completely filled with floodlights. No shadows, nothing like that. And anyone who goes in there should not block the lights, because it's a small shadow that sits in the corner of the room. And when any light is absorbed to it, or is exposed to it, basically it jumps towards and completely encloses it in a shroud, whereupon it returns to its normal size, leaving no trace behind of the object. So, yeah, it's pretty useless, but interesting. Where does this stuff go? Is it just a black hole person? Because anything. Now, this is the honorable mention number 1, because I could find use for it, and I don't know if they've tried. Have they tried to use it to kill the immortal lizard? I mean, that seems like a good idea to me. Or other things, like the plague doctor. Hell, they might even be able to use it to wipe out the whole fucking town with the what is that one? I think it's the red ice. No, the red ice is different. I'm thinking of some type of infection or something that you get, and the red flesh. I think it's something like that. But yeah, imagine you could do some useful things with that. So that's why I wanted to put that one there in my honorable mentions list. And I'm pretty sure that's everything there really is to say about that SCP. It's under constant surveillance and all that, like most of them. This is my next honorable mention, because in this one they talk about it being useful. And this one even has a cool picture, an original picture. Maybe that's what I'll put on my thing. So it's SCP-18 is Euclid. Basically, it has to be contained in a specialty sealed box lined with heavy synthetic padding, and each side's about a foot of padding, and then sealed. The sealed box is then submerged in the center of a 10 meter by 10 meter by 10 meter polyethylene holding tank. Now you'll know why in a minute. If it's to break free from the holding box, the polyethylene-based goo will slow down kinetic activity enough for proper retrieval by containment personnel. Personnel entering SCP-18's holding chamber are to wear specialized plating and a breathing apparatus before lowered into the polyethylene tank. If SCP-18 is loose outside of the tank, personnel are advised to secure themselves in a separate room and close doorways or hatches to isolate until containment teams arrive. Alright, this is the description. SCP-18 has the appearance of a super ball made by the Whammo Company in 1969. It is 6 centimeters in diameter and colored red. Found when the blank company was hired to clean out a warehouse that had Whammo merchandise in it. 18 was noted to be able to bounce with extreme height, at first thought to be a pleasant child's toy. SCP was able to bounce over 200% efficiency. That is, if dropped 1 meter, it would bounce 2, then 4, then 8. You can imagine how crazy this would get if someone bounced it, especially hard, or like in an enclosed room. So, the ball soon became a dangerous projectile, reaching speeds estimated at over 100 kilometers an hour and damaging property and injuring 5 in the city of Blank. It came to rest several days in a lake where it was treated by SCP personnel. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, we have document 18-4. This is a message to an 05 council member, but it doesn't tell you which one. I hope everything is well. The reason I write to you is because I believe I have found a more effective method of retrieving new or escaped SCP objects. Yes, I realize we haven't had any progress in reverse engineering whatever allows this thing to defy the laws of thermodynamics, but we have come up with a very effective method for integrating one of those new SCP-A5 armor suits with this. Just hear me out. We implement it into the bottom of a boot, rig up a little bit of a mechanical device, and ta-da! The suit is now capable of jumping over a building. And if the wearer has their foot against something they want dead, well, just kick it. So yeah, Super Ball. They put it on the bottom of their foot, and they could bounce or kick things. But the problem is somebody went on a mission and got murderlated. Well, he didn't get killed. What happened was he successfully captured the SCP in the jungle, and then there was an accident where he was propulsed into the air, came back down, also landing in a lake, I believe. On the surface of a lake, he broke a lot of bones. And then he had to fix that. So that's why I put it in sort of useful. That's why it's an honorable mention, because I can't say it's useless necessarily, but it needs work. Alright guys, this is the final part of this video. I'm just going to hit this real quick and then we'll get into the last one and then the outro. So this one also has a pretty interesting picture. It just kind of looks like a typical old pot. The pot. So, I mean, who are you to wave your fingers? No, I'm kidding. This is SCP-19. This is number 1. This is not the honorable mention. This one will be useless, but interesting. SCP-19 is Keter. The procedures of containment. SCP-19 is to be kept on a wide grate in a 3x3x4 reinforced concrete room installed with an incinerator. The room is to be kept at 0 degrees Celsius when incinerator is not activated. An observation chamber separated by a plate glass window is to be used for constant observation of SCP-19, and if/when specimens of SCP-19-2 are observed, the incinerator is to be activated. In the event of an outbreak of SCP-19-2, ordinary firearms are successful in terminating an individual specimens, although in the case of a swarm-level outbreak, flamethrowers may be more effective. SCP-19 should be kept in a vertical position at all times. Description: SCP-019 appears to be a very large ceramic vase, 1.8 meters in diameter at the mouth, and 2.4 meters high. Style and decoration indicate it was created in classical Greece, although conclusive dating is impossible, as the surface is entirely unbreakable by any known means. If a successful method is discovered, SCP-19 is to be destroyed with prejudice. Periodically, entities emerge from SCP-19. Collectively, these are known as SCP-1902. The entities vary in many aspects, but tend to be small, vaguely humanoid, though they may have animaloid features, and extremely hostile. They often choose to attack with teeth or claws, although fairly delicate, also surprisingly flammable. They are reasonably strong and pose considerable threat in large numbers, so they come out of the vase every once in a while and they need to be incinerated. By the way, if you look at that picture, it's literally just one of those hairless cats, like with a swirl effect on it, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that's all that picture is. When kept at 0 degrees Celsius and totally at rest, entities will emerge from SCP-19 at a rate of approximately 1 entity per hour. The following traits are known to affect SCP-019-2's manifestation rate. Movement of SCP-019. Threat to SCP-019, extreme temperature, highs and lows, sudden shifts in surrounding environment, introduction of objects or organisms to the inside of SCP. So if anything changes around it, it might change the spawn rate of these entities. In addition, this is a crazy part. Tipping or tilting SCP-19 will create a reaction as though it was previously filled with SCP-19-2 specimens, although viewers looking into it from above will merely observe a dark hole. So basically, it'll make them flood out at an insane rate. Due to the production rates of SCP-19-2, when the object is disturbed, measurement of the initial cavity is difficult, but is suspected to be inconsistent with outside measurements. Okay, so basically there's these doctors are talking about how the specimen had been taken out and kept in a little place to live where they were fed chicken and I believe water and live chickens as food. And basically they could speak in Hellenic languages, ancient Hellenic languages, but not because they were intelligent. They lived for less than 48 hours and revealed anatomy consistent on a cellular level with normal biology, but with an extremely unstable musculoskeletal structure. Other notable anomalies included an unstable respiratory system, nearly non-existent digestive tract, and virtually no other internal organs. All other captured specimens have followed similar patterns of behavior and demise. So the idea is that they are not meant to live past when they come out of the jars. That's the entire shtick of them, you could say. And man, what type of a life is that? And eventually they had to replace the incinerator with an acid bath, which is pretty crazy to think about. They're evolving, which is not good for us. So yes, they're extremely scary and interesting, but they pose no use to us. They'd just be a danger to us, if anything. Alright, it's time for the outro. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. It took me a little while to do the research for it, so I hope it gets some praise. And if you did, let me know what other type of videos you might like to see from me, and leave a like and subscribe. You should also comment down below and let me know which SCP was your favorite. I'd love to hear it from you. My personal favorite is probably Pipe Nightmare, because that one's very cool. Or I also really liked the Super Ball because of the special notes that they had with the trying to make it work as a weapon. That was pretty interesting. I'm going to get to posting this video. It'll be up pretty soon. So yeah, just leave those comments, let me know what you want to see next and what you liked, what your favorite SCP was, and I'll see you guys next time. I don't know, I'll just do the rock on intro as always.